Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss how the reporting on the rebellion against Boris Johnson has shifted to an imminent vote of no confidence to a likely reprieve, most directly linked to the Met Police's timely blocking of the report that could have sunk Johnson's career. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, tricky timing here. The Grey report into the Downing Street parties seems set to be published today. That's a laugh. As the police have said that there must be minimal reference to the potentially unlawful parties, but that is the entire focus of the report. That basically means nothing of value is going to be published at all. This has absolutely cocked up plans by Tory MPs to oust Johnson before he does too much damage to their reputation, at least as far as we can tell. You know, this has to be the worst will they, won't they that I can remember. Way more tedious than Ross and Rachel and much more impactful. A week ago, all the talk was in the media of Conservative MPs were just waiting for the Grey report to drop, then they were going to get their letters in. That doesn't mean that Boris Johnson was going to be walking the plank. It just meant there would have been a confidence vote. You know, as soon as that report drops, that was it. The day after, that was always going to be to it. Now the reporting is very different. Now the reporting is of Johnson being spared, that there is not now going to be a confidence vote, at least for now. So if Tories were poised to oust him and now they're not, what changed? It's not that the full report won't come out as such. That obviously has a bearing. Like, Tory MPs already know how bad it's going to be. They also know what the public think of it all. What's changed is this. It might cause more damage to the party to remove him now than later. I've said for nearly 2 months now, if I were a Tory MP, I would actually want him staying in place for a while yet, quite a long way through 2022. Let him take the blame for all the crap that's coming our way this year. Then get him replaced late 2022, maybe after summer, for the successors still to be in the honeymoon period where the public are happy to give them the benefit of the doubt. Everything that's going bad, oh, it's actually Johnson's fault, I'm much better, I've got much better plans. But you know, these plans take time to bear fruit. Just in time for a May 2023 election. As long as all the blame for everything can be laid at Johnson's door, that is the way to proceed. That is the way to win another election and be safe until 2028 at least. But then things changed. The situation with Partygate became so bad that reputational damage was being done to the party in continuing to back Johnson. Not for the scandal itself. People weren't blaming Tory MPs in general for the scandal, but for refusing to get rid of a clearly unfit Prime Minister. At the point at which damage is done to the party, which will remain even when Johnson leaves, then you have to ask, if you're a Tory MP, can you afford to wait the best part of another year? And it sounded like MPs were thinking, no, we really can't. Reports, even in Johnson's supporting media, were increasingly thinking that his time was coming. They were throwing everything at propping their man up. Complete desperation. And his detractors also threw everything at toppling him. And the danger isn't over yet. Like, for all I know, tomorrow the letters could go in. There could still be that vote of no confidence. But the way the report is going, that now seems unlikely. You know, we had the Mail and the Express at the weekend ramming their readers with front pages trying to big Johnson up. They've moved on to the Levelling Up white paper, which has been released. I'll have thoughts on that, probably more detailed thoughts at the end of the week, but, you know, it'll come up tomorrow as well. But despite Johnson not being certain of safety just yet, it does look like he'll limp on a bit longer. So what changed? Well, it seems this. If you think back to Theresa May, when Theresa May resigned, it was because she was presented with a clear majority of her MPs telling her it was time to go. Technically, she didn't have to. Technically, she was protected by party rules that prevented another confidence vote because she'd faced a confidence vote in December 2018. But here she was being told to leave in May 2019. You know, what had happened was they'd threatened to change the rules. We're going to just change the rules so we can do it every 6 months and then we'll just kick you out anyway. So Theresa May, rather than damage the party's reputation in a bitter fight to the death for her position, she resigned. Boris Johnson is not going to do the same. We are hearing reports that he is going to fight to the bitter end, and enough MPs seem to have formed the view that this will lead to more risk of collateral reputational damage than the risk of being seen to have supported him against the public outrage. So the political calculation has shifted from he is doing reputational damage to the wider party by remaining in place to he's still doing reputational damage to the party by remaining in place, but he could do more reputational damage to the party if we have to fight tooth and nail to get rid of him. We'd really rather he just resigned. You know, and this may change if the local elections are a complete skip fire, or if the Met can only bugger about for so long and the Grey Report is released in full at some time in, say, a couple of months. Or if another major scandal hits and the Conservatives take another nosedive in the polls. Those who want rid of Johnson also have the same problem they always had. Who can they support who would definitely do better at the next election? That is the most important trump card Johnson has, if you'll pardon the expression. That is what has kept him in place up to... He would have been gone by now if there were clearly sensible alternatives. Like Sunak or Truss are the main ones that talked about. They may win back traditional Conservatives who turned against Johnson last year. Absolutely. But can they retain those red wall voters? Sunak's economic policies are unlikely to do so. And Truss, you just watch her in an interview, she just hasn't got anything about her. The idea that she can be enthusiastically supported by, you know, working class, normally Labour voting voters, doesn't seem likely. You know, there was an altercation between two Tory MPs the weekend. One was a Johnson supporter, one was a critic. I've forgotten who they were now. But the supporter was asking, so who do you replace him with? And it's all right, you saying he should go. Who do you replace him with? And the critic said, well, we can worry about that when he's gone. But actually, the Johnson supporter's right. You can't just get rid of a leader without an obvious successor in mind who will actually be better. It's not a case of finding someone with more appeal than Johnson. It needs to be enough to win the election. So the Conservatives seem to be utterly trapped. They can't keep Johnson for the long term because he's now voter repellent. Some hope he can shake it off. But we've learnt that in Labour. Once you've got that label on you, that's it. It's stuck. You know, but they hope he can recover from it. I'm going to talk about this a bit more tomorrow. They hope he can get back to his old Teflon-coated ways. But I do not see even a slender chance of that. He's blown it. You know, Starmer would have to make a complete dog's dinner of things now to end up looking less appealing than Johnson. If Tories had major faith in Sunak or Truss or Gove or Hunt or even Tugendhat or anyone else, Johnson would not be looking so happy right now. But all of the possible successors are massive risks. The calculation is not, is there a better option than Johnson? Of course there is, almost anyone. It's not even which is the best of the possible successors. It's, have we even got a possible successor who can win the next election? And then there are those party rules on confidence votes. So, if 54 letters go in and a confidence vote is triggered and Johnson wins that confidence vote, he is safe from another confidence vote for a full year. There was a move to try and change the party rules in advance to allow 2 votes a year. That has been defeated now. So Tory MPs wanting to get rid of Johnson know that if they trigger the confidence vote, they cannot afford to lose it. So they're obviously now thinking it's better to wait a few more months. Yes, we're going to be taking reputational damage, but better to wait a few more months and then be sure of getting rid of him than to trigger the vote now, lose and be stuck with him until 2023. And you can understand why. You can understand the high stakes. If Johnson is still around in January 2023, even if he is definitely on his way out at that point, too much damage will have been done to recover for an election in 2023. That means you're stuck with the election in 2024, the maximum possible you can delay it till. And that will not only mean an economy buggered by a combination of Brexit and Johnson's lack of interest in governing, but also give Labour more time to get their message out as well. The combination, of course, for a Tory MP would be ruinous. And as I've said before, if you want to see the Conservatives removed from office, this latest development is not actually very bad news. Like I've said in the past, I want Johnson gone as soon as possible to give the opposition as much time as possible to work on the replacement. Don't allow them to still be in their honeymoon period come the election. But there are 2 things working in our favour here now. The first is that if Conservatives are still backing Johnson, it is because they have no faith in his potential replacements. In other words, they do not think that Sunak, Truss, or anyone else that's putting themselves forward can be confident of winning the next election. Because make no mistake, most Conservative MPs want a leader who can actually govern. They're not impressed with Johnson's cavalier attitude. They'd love a more serious Prime Minister. They just don't want it to be Keir Starmer. And the second thing is that Johnson will continue to outrage the public and the opposition and making it crystal clear who the bad guys are here. And it is not Boris Johnson. His Tory MP enablers. You know, I saw it described, I think it was actually in the Times, this is a Tory paper, but no friend to Johnson, that it was like making a monkey Prime Minister. You can't blame the monkey, you blame the people who put it in charge. That is why Johnson is now doing deeper damage to the party. People are pointing out that Johnson is unfit to be Prime Minister, but lacks the moral fibre to resign. So it's for his party to remove him. And if Tory MPs will not remove him, then they are publicly stating that they are not concerned with the damage that he is doing to the country. And that damage is not simply reputational. The damage is not just in terms of trust with the public either. The cost of living is rising, taxes are rising. Just wait until you see what the Brexit shortages look like later this year, if you thought last year was odd. It's dreadful that Johnson will continue to cause long-term damage to the country, but that was going to continue under his successor anyway. And at least now we have the benefit that that damage is cutting through the Conservative Party's veneer. Put it this way, I think sensible Conservative MPs are distraught right now. I do not believe that politicians in Labour, the Liberal Democrats, the SNP or any others are losing a minute of sleep over this. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.